Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Craig, it's almost Cougar Football Saturday.
Hola!
Hola, buddy, muchacho. Is that what I should call you right now?
Amigo.
What's the difference? Okay, so
I have no idea.
What's the difference between muchacho and amigo? I know amigo is friend.
No sé.
Right. See, I don't know either.
No
That's
sé.
all right. Somebody's going to listen to this podcast and be like, stupid Americans.
Idiotos.
Do you hear that a lot when you're in Mexico?
No. So we're in Playa del Carmen, and there's a famous shopping street just like 2 blocks from our hotel, and it's Fifth Avenue, and there's a lot of hawkers. And so when I was walking with B and Amanda, they would just, come try tequila, blah, blah, blah. Maybe throw in a cannabis once in a while. But when I walked down earlier by myself because I was just going to go buy a hat at a store that I had seen earlier. And then it turned to, you want blow? You want hookers? so very different. No idiota. That was fine. But yeah, so.
That's
so yeah, but this is Podcast versus Everyone. I am Craig Powers, broadcasting live from Playa del Carmen in Mexico on the balcony of my hotel room, looking at the ocean. So that's pretty cool. How about you, Jeff?
That is cool. That view is much better than mine.
Yeah, and with me is Jeff Nusser, who...
Hola.
Hola. I know Zane said to record the entire podcast in Spanish, but that would have been brutal.
I know the only things I remember, obviously, from my 2 years of high school Spanish, which was like 25 years ago.
That's roughly my experience as well.
Yeah. Is how to order a beer and how to ask where the bathroom is. That's about it.
So one more tangent.
You have had many cervezas.
So yeah, one more tangent before we get into this is the Oregon preview.
Yes.
One more tangent. So we have the baby with us, of course. She goes to bed early, so we have to go down to the bar and get drinks, bring them back up, keep going. So I have learned I can carry 4 drinks at a time. So our order has been 2 cervezas and 2 tequila and sodas. So I did this last night, and then I also went downstairs and watched the Sounders and made a friend and was out pretty late, but whatever. And then tonight I go down and the same bartender knows my order already. And then by the second time I went down there, he just looks at me, holds up 4 fingers, and I nod, and that's it. So, yes, I've been drinking a lot. I've been drinking all day. I had a mimosa with breakfast, and it hasn't stopped since then. You can pour your own mimosas at breakfast. It's a buffet, and they just have a mimosa station. And
sounds awesome.
This is the least prepared I'll be for this preview podcast, but here we go. Oregon,
but it'll probably be the most entertaining.
I hope so.
We're just going to be like, it's going to be time to like spout some numbers. You're going to just be like, whatever, they're fucking good, okay?
Yeah, exactly. Oregon Ducks. All right, so.
Wait, one last thing. How many cervezas?
Oh.
Can you say the number in Spanish?
Cervezas or bebidas alcohólicas in total?
Yeah, sure. The last one.
Oh, man. It's in the teens today, for sure. But it's been all day.
All day.
So, I mean, I haven't gotten, like, drunk. I've just carried a nice buzz throughout the day.
See, that's the best way.
Yeah. All-inclusive. So I'm at an all-inclusive resort, and this is an all-inclusive preview of the Oregon Ducks.
Well, that's a segue. That is professional podcasting.
So we'll start, as we always do, with the opposing offense, led by Mr. All-American, Mr. Greatest Quarterback of all time we've heard for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Who annoyingly skipped the draft last year.
Yeah.
Has started this season on fire, 21 touchdowns, 1 pick. But honestly, they're not using him the way you would think.
Nope.
Even though we've heard all about his arm talent, they're not doing downfield throws, which we saw against the Cougs last year. He does not do well. They're relying on explosives. They don't get that many explosives, but they're very good. Their passing game is very good. I'll say that right off the bat. Like, it's very good. Like, I think they're ninth in passing success rate. That may be right. I'm sorry, 18th, but they're 9th in passing yards per play. So they do have a very good passing game. So he is being very efficient. He's a good quarterback, but maybe not the quarterback that everyone has said he is. But he has led a very efficient passing offense, and to the point where Oregon is very much a passing dominant offense now, where in the past they were a rushing dominant offense. But this year they are much more leaning on the pass, and I think a lot of that is short passes. So they are very good passing the ball. It's their one thing they were 9th in, and we'll get into this. They are 9th in red zone drive rate. They get into the red zone on 42% of their drives, which is very good.
That is really good.
Yeah. But yeah, Jeff, so what are your thoughts on the Oregon offense?
Yeah, I mean it's really good. They definitely it's interesting, for a team that everyone sort of assumes is led by this really good quarterback, and he is good. But he definitely, like a lot of college quarterbacks, he has some holes, and the big one is two things. One is he doesn't throw a great deep ball, and then the other thing is that he can get a little wonky with his accuracy at times, and he can go through spells where he just misses guys.
Right.
We saw that last year with us. I watched the UW game. There was some of that when they played UW last weekend. Didn't take many shots down the field, but definitely had some moments where he was, missing guys who were otherwise open and just kind of, throwing it in, a weird spot. So the most interesting thing is that they are definitely not the Chip Kelly type Oregon Ducks that they have been.
Nope.
Just especially on offense. Mario Cristobal is a very, very different kind of coach, former offensive lineman. So he's got that sort of smash mouth, feel to what he wants to do. He wants to bully people. He wants to run them over. And in my opinion, I think it sort of turns into, relying a little bit too much on the running game. It's a lot of, for those of us who are Seahawks fans, it's a very, Pete Carroll kind of philosophy. We are going to run, and we're going to run some more, and we're going to be physical, and we're going to and it's hard to argue with the results. I mean, the offense is good, and they're scoring points, and it's kind of all that.
But that being said, with that mentality, they are 82nd in rush rate.
Right, and so they're just going to keep hammering on in there.
No, I'm saying they don't. They rush the ball.
Oh, they don't.
They rush the ball a little less than 49% of the time.
Okay. So perhaps maybe the Washington game was a little bit of an aberration, but still, and it might also be, and this is actually probably what it is. I'm used to watching the Cougs, and so anything that's approaching 50-50, I'm like, what the fuck? That's like,
right.
That's like Neanderthal,
Right.
So anyway, so there's probably some of that, but I don't know what the numbers say about their early down rush rates, but against Washington, there was definitely an establish the run kind of feel to it, where they were just kind of hammering it up in there, even when it wasn't having a lot of success.
Well, Oregon is very similar. Like, once again, we're playing this team that has, on average, long third down yards to go. Like, because yes, they do run the ball early, and their running game is their weaker part of their offense, and then they find themselves having to bail out with the pass. And that's the same with Colorado. It was the same with Utah. It's kind of strange that WSU keeps, like, I guess apparently the Pac-12 has an identity, and it is this identity where it's where you value the run to your own, detriment. And then
listen, I thought the same thing. Watching that Washington-Oregon game, I felt the same about Washington. Like Washington was doing the same thing too. They just kept running and I'm like, yo, you got Jacob Eason back there, and he's throwing for 1 billion yards
he's
and
throwing fucking darts.
Yeah, like that arm is insane. It is insane, and I'm watching it, and I'm just like, why? Like, why is this? Why is this a thing? Like, why are you insisting on run pass when?
Yeah, Ahmed is not Gaskin, but whatever.
No,
we can talk about the Huskies forever, but
yeah, we'll talk plenty about them later, but anyway, it's just to your point, there seem to be multiple offenses now: Utah, Arizona State, Oregon, Washington,
Colorado,
where it's like, hey, we are going to run and we're going to be physical and we've got an identity, and it's like, I guess that's fine. Like, I don't know, but it just anyway, you got a great quarterback. Why not turn him loose a little bit? But it's these guys who coached in the SEC. You got Matt Tucker, you got Cristobal, who reinvigorated his career by hanging out with Nick Saban. Like,
you got Herm Edwards, who's a very classic coach,
right,
an NFL coach, and then you have Kyle Whittingham, who's been doing the same thing forever. Yeah. So,
but I think that the bigger point that I think is more important is that this kind of philosophy, and I think this is kind of maybe the road you were going down, but this kind of philosophy really plays into the hands of the Cougs in the sense that, it introduces maybe some variability to the game that there might not otherwise be. Where Oregon's, the more talented team, I don't think anybody is going to argue that. If they're going to insist on running and maybe we can get them in some 3rd and longs, maybe we get off the field. Maybe it won't make a difference, but maybe we get off the field, or maybe, if you make them be methodical down the field, maybe Herbert makes a mistake. I know he's only thrown, 1 interception, but, when you make people execute, is something I kind of wrote about today. When you force the opposing team to just execute repeatedly, there's a pretty decent chance that a mistake's going to happen,
right?
Somewhere along the way. And I think Oregon maybe brings, some of that in. I think when you watched them play Washington, it was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if you watched that game, but, it sure felt like they should have been able to maybe dominate that game a little harder than they did. And
I agree.
Needing to come back and kind of all that. So, I don't know. I still don't trust Cristobal as a coach, and I still don't trust their offensive philosophy. I mean, they hang 45 on us, but
so does everyone. So whatever.
Yeah.
Besides the Colorado Buffaloes.
But
so yeah, just to your point. So their first down success rate is 50th. 44%, 50th in the country. Their second down success rate, when they're probably like, oh shit, we need to throw the ball, 6th. So basically first down success would be making it 2nd and 5, and second down would be getting to 3rd and 3. So basically they're not that great, or they're a little bit better than average at getting to 2nd and 5, but they're one of the best teams in the country at getting to 3rd and 3. So they're not, if they're getting to 2nd and 8, they're very good at converting on second down. So, but then third down, they're 59. So it's I don't know, but their passing down success rate is 14th. So Herbert's a good quarterback. He's going to bail them out when he has the chance. He's especially good at those. I think where he really excels is the flat balls that he can throw in the kind of 10 to 20 yard range. Guys on the move, crossing routes, he throws an excellent flat ball. Like, he is laser focused on that shit. He can't, the down the field, go route, the post, things like that, not great. But he throws a great, because when he rolls out to his right or something. We saw it last year when they came back to make it a game in Pullman. Like, when he turns it on, when he's moving, when he's throwing, when he's looking, in that medium range, he carved WSU's defense up for about a quarter.
Oh yeah, and that second half was butt pucker.
Yeah. So he's good. He'll definitely get drafted high, and
yep.
And then, and he has the ability to carve up a suspect WSU secondary, which we hope is a little bit better with the changes. Obviously they played a pretty good offense in Colorado and shut them down. We, of course, were a little suspect about Colorado's offense, and maybe the weather played a factor, but whatever. Our offense
didn't affect us.
Yeah,
both teams had to play in it.
Yeah, suck it. But
like the Apple Cup last year, Washington played in that snow too. But okay, so Oregon. The one thing about Oregon, so I'm curious how you feel about this. I don't feel like outside of maybe like one wide receiver, I don't feel like their weapons are all that special.
No,
like, Do you feel like
this
Breland
is not
was a huge weapon for them? He's hurt, so
Breland was definitely the best receiver for them last year against the Cougs. Not the other guy who left. Can't remember his name, but Breland was very good against the Cougs last year. But
Dylan Mitchell.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I knew it was a D. I couldn't remember.
Sorry, I had to look it up.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah. So Breland was their best against the Cougs last year with his annoying long hair and whatever. I specifically remember him when they were down 27-17, I think, and he caught a first down in like Coug territory and just this really cocky like first down signal, which our guys do all the time too. But when you're stressed, you're like, fuck you, man.
You're like, I hate you.
Yeah.
I hate that guy.
Yeah. But anyway, so, they don't, this is not like Demaryius Thomas putting whoever the hell that was on skates level of athletes that we're seeing here. Demaryius Thomas is not who I'm trying to say. Who am I trying to say? DeAnthony. Yeah. So, this is not like that level of athleticism that they have. They're still good athletes, but I mean, they had a top 5 recruiting class last year, but that was a lot of defensive focused, which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, this is not, and the Cougs are obviously better than in those days. I mean, they've beaten Oregon 4 fucking times in a row. It's not, there's not the athletic disparity that there used to be.
And I don't think that'll be. I don't think that's going to be the case.
Obviously, this is the worst defense that WSU has had in this stretch of beating them. But you talked about it. You wrote an article about it today. Like, Oregon is not that explosive as you would,
which is crazy.
And it's a huge key for WSU's defense, and has been in this run of a lot of wins. And since Grinch arrived, has been limiting explosives, and which they didn't do under Clays, but it seems like they were more focused on against Colorado. So does that give you some optimism going in that Oregon is not going to get those chunk plays? And so WSU has a chance to maybe, even though they're very good at getting into the red zone and getting into the inside the 40 and the scoring opportunity range, does it give you some hope that WSU can kind of bend and not break?
It does. I mean, they're going to break some.
Of course.
Right. But
we said that against Colorado, and they didn't.
Yeah, well, that's true. But again,
Oregon's a lot better. Herbert is about 8 levels higher than Montez. So.
Yeah, and I do, you mentioned the weather. I mean, I think that played a role. I mean, I think...
Especially with explosives, and the type of explosives that Colorado would want.
The fact that we were fine and they weren't, I think, was more about Gordon being pretty fucking awesome than maybe the other way around. So,
and Herbert is at that level. So.
Yes, and so okay, so I think what I think it is this. There's always a chance that Oregon all of a sudden becomes explosive. Even
that's
though
happened.
They've only got.
That's happened this year against the Cougs multiple times.
Yes. So, a team that hasn't been super explosive all of a sudden becomes explosive, and okay, whatever, that happens. But I mean, let's for a moment, for a thought exercise, let's go ahead and think, all right, well, maybe this defense really has kind of figured some things out. Maybe this defense, isn't great, but is, okay at making sure that at least they're not giving up, what I called the back-breaking plays, right? The ones that just kill you, the 86-yard touchdown plays, the 35-yard touchdown plays. Those are the ones that just kill you. And so let's assume they've got those under control now. So if that's the case, you're going to force Oregon to march down the field. Now, they are very good at what we would call sort of chunk plays. So not the big explosives, but sort of the in-between. So the 15-plus passes, the 10-plus runs. They are really good. They do have a lot of those, about the same as us.
Right.
The difference is they don't have the long explosives.
20-plus.
Right. And so if they are, just limited to those chunks and maybe a little bit less, you get them into what you were talking about, which is the third and longs. They're not a great third down team. They're not a good fourth down team. They're not a good kicking team. And consequently, because of all that, they're actually not a great red zone touchdown team.
Right.
So you put all that together and you go, all right, is this the opportunity for an upset? And you can start to see a scenario. Now, granted, it's not, it's not likely. I'm not sitting here saying it's likely.
We still have to talk about Oregon's defense.
Yeah, you can start to envision a scenario where, okay, you make them work hard. They get in some third downs. They don't convert their third downs. Herbert misses a couple throws. They get themselves in, 4th and 5 from the WSU, 30-yard line, and they won't kick a field goal because their kicker sucks, and they go for it and don't get it, right? So it's like you can start to see these scenarios where maybe, if a few things turn our way, you can maybe hold them down to the 30s and have a chance to win the game. I really think that, Oregon sort of maybe plays with fire on some of this stuff, and I think that it's not crazy to think that it could come back to burn them on a weekend, and so this could be the weekend because we do have an offense that can score.
With that, I say let's take a break, and then we'll talk about that offense against Oregon's defense.
Perfect. And we're back.
We're back. Buy or download or whatever. Yep. Whatever. Bebidas alcohólicas.
I am having an alcoholic beverage, so.
Oh, me too.
I stopped by the beer store on my way home from parent-teacher conferences, so.
Much alcohol is needed.
I was surprised I was the only one to stop by the tap room, but that's all right. Or at least the only one that I saw at that point.
I'm surprised that even people... I'm surprised you aren't drinking during the parent-teacher conference.
Hey, man. I have higher ethics than that. Anyway.
Yeah, whatever. It's because you haven't figured out a way to do it.
Hey, now.
All right, so Oregon's defense...
Yes, pretty good.
Is very good. And
pretty good.
I have some bad news stats to throw out here. Bad news.
Let's go, Debbie Downer.
Stats. Okay, so what does WSU typically do? Like, what is their offensive hallmark? What do they?
The ball,
they
Craig.
throw the ball. So Oregon is number 7 in passing success rate defense. Only 29% of the time are those passes deemed successful. Which is not so good.
That's a really low number.
Yards per play, 4.43 per passing play. 4.43 yards per passing play.
Also a really low number.
That's I can't believe that's only 6th in the country. There are 5 teams that allow less than that in the country. Like 4 yards a pass, like 4.4 yards a pass. 5 teams allow less than that. Like I didn't even know that was possible. I didn't even know a team could only allow 4 yards a pass. That's man, heartburn.
Stanford only went for 4 yards a pass against Oregon.
Yeah, well, it's Stanford. So overall passing down success rate 4th. Only 18%.
Yeah.
Very good. So all the things you were talking about that they're not good on offense, they're down. They are very good on defense, which is the most scary one of all red zone touchdown rate. They only give up a touchdown on 25% of red zone trips. Where do you think?
Very low.
Where do you think that ranks, Jeff, nationally?
That's gotta be close to the top.
That is number one.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's gotta be really close. I think your average offense scores touchdowns on 50%.
I can tell you the
like that?
I can tell you the average. Let me
guess.
just scroll to the right. It is 62%.
Oh, yeah, so even higher than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so average this year has been 62%, and Oregon has only given up touchdowns on 25%. So they don't bend a ton, but when they do, they absolutely do not break. And so they're even in scoring opportunities inside the 40, they only give up a touchdown just slightly higher, 25.8% of the time. I'm trying to find some. I got to tell you, like, it's hard to find. So really, and the funny thing is they have faced mostly pass-heavy teams because they're on standard downs rush rate. They're 76th in facing rushes on center downs. So they don't face rushes that often on standard downs. They don't face rushes on passing downs, 103rd. So like they are trained against the pass, and they have done very well against it. They have given up. They're just only slightly above average in explosive rate for passes. So that's good. That's, they do give up some explosives, and that's probably why you see their scoring opportunity rate, touchdown rate slightly higher than their red zone rate. So yeah, so their defense is good, man. Their defense is
They've
good.
only allowed 6 passing touchdowns all year, and 3 of those were against Washington.
But here's the thing. So they so that is good because Washington has probably the best quarterback that they've faced all year.
Yep.
And Washington has the best offense they faced all year.
Yep.
You know what the next best offense they're going to face? So Washington is ranked 7th in SP Plus in offense. WSU is ranked 4th.
Yep.
Washington, especially, in the first 3 quarters, was rolling on offense. So there's opportunity. So let's turn to the positive, like we just did. They do actually. They're 88th in our opportunity rate rank, and that's a really I know that's kind of a deep stat that you're listening. You're like, what the fuck are you talking about, Craig? That means they let the opposing offense get inside the 40 about 49% of the time, and that is not good. Like that's not good. They just they don't break. They're very good once you get inside the 40. That's some of the athletes they have on defense, I think, are part of that reason. But so that's the thing here. If Gordon and co, they're probably gonna get inside the 40 because WSU is very good at moving the ball.
Yep.
This is going to be the key to an upset, is converting to touchdowns.
Yep.
And getting chunk plays from your wide receivers and Max Borghi when you're at the 39, score there. Like if you're getting and they did that against Colorado. They got a couple of chunk plays against Colorado, and honestly, that was part of it because Colorado's very good in the red zone, or better in the red zone, and not very good. They're not very good at anything defensively, but they're better in the red zone and inside the 40, which you typically see with. I think you'll often see with major conference teams, just because they have better athletes, so they typically have defenses that get better when the spaces are limited. But yeah, so it's the same thing you'll see here, except on a kind of amplified scale. If WSU can get some 35 to 40-yard touchdowns, and I know that's kind of a silly thing to say, but WSU does that a lot.
Yep.
I mean, they had one from Brandon Arconato. They had one from Max Borghi. They had a 20-plus yard touchdown from Desmond Patman in the last game, and those are the plays that need to happen if WSU. Those are the plays you're going to see if WSU has this upset. that's what they're going to do. They're not going to like if WSU's sitting first and goal from the 9. I mean,
that's a tough spot.
That's a tough spot against Oregon's defense.
Yep.
And Oregon's defense is very good this year, although I do think they were a bit exposed by Washington.
Yeah, they've benefited from playing some pretty trash offenses.
So they were number 1 in SP Plus before Washington. I think they're like 8th now. So they took quite a hit from playing a much more athletic and good offense, which WSU is also. So that, honestly, their performance against Washington has given me a lot more hope, man. A lot more hope for that. Even though you look at these numbers and they're daunting, like Jesus, 4.4 yards a pass, but and the touch and 25% touchdown rate, whatever. But Washington did it, and I don't see why Anthony Gordon and his stable of weapons couldn't do the same.
Well, I think one of the sort of major factors, against Washington was that they did not get nearly as much pressure on the quarterback as they are accustomed to. They only had 1 sack, and Eason wasn't bothered all that much. He made I think, in fact, if I remember right, the 1 sack came right at the end of the game. And resulted in a massive loss.
A huge loss.
Yeah, and so...
Praise be.
Yeah, exactly. They were not generating the kind of pressure that they had been. And so when you look at their sacks, okay, they had 1 sack against Auburn, 5 against Nevada, 4 against Montana, 5 against Stanford, 4 against Cal.
There you go.
So that's, 18 of their sacks against Nevada, Montana, Stanford, and Cal. Okay, fine. Well... 2 sacks against Colorado, 1 sack against Washington.
And WSU does not give up many sacks given the amount of times they throw the ball.
The amount of times we drop back. And then, you look at that Colorado game, of course, okay, so 2 sacks, and they, Colorado only scored 3 points. Well, I think we kind of know that Montez pretty much sucks.
Yeah.
Like I think that
we saw that in person.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can sort of explain that.
By the way, just random aside, Montez was at 10 touchdowns, 2 picks before Oregon. He's now at 10 touchdowns, 8 picks after Oregon playing Oregon and WSU. So
that's a couple of bad games.
Yeah. So I would take a lot more from Washington's performance than Colorado's performance.
Yeah, so when you look at it, you go, okay, well, what's the key for us? Like you talked about, maybe hitting some explosives from outside the red zone. I would argue, okay, keeping Gordon clean, right?
Absolutely.
And not
evergreen comment.
And not allowing our offensive line to get inside their own heads. It's going to be loud. Autzen is ear-splitting loud if you've never been there. It's incredibly loud for a place that's only got 50,000 people.
It's designed well. It's like the Seahawks. It's like the Seahawks Stadium. It's
sitting right in the middle of a hillside. It's like that sound doesn't go anywhere. So you've got this. It's going to be super loud. You got to not have false starts, not hold, not panic. Keep Gordon clean. If you do, I think
Liam Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, there's places. Yes, I'm not naming names.
Well, I didn't. What? I just said 2 random first names in succession.
Yeah, Irish names or English names or whatever they are. Anyway, that's the key. I mean, I think that's the key. And yes, their yards per attempt is very low, and I don't doubt that it's very good. But it's I also look at a 9.6 that Washington put up.
Yep.
I go, I don't know that we, I mean, I don't think Washington's receivers are all that explosive. I mean, I'm not going to say they're pedestrian, but they're not as physically gifted. They're pretty good, but they're not as physically gifted as they've been.
They're not. They're
Bryant
not.
Is very,
they're
very,
not.
very good.
They're not better than WSU's receivers.
Yeah, on the whole, I mean, Hunter Bryant's if we were to put the 2 sets of receivers together, I mean, Hunter Bryant's the best receiver out of those
all of them,
2 groups of all those receivers. But if you look at the groups, I don't think their group is better than our group.
Who's going to guard Brandon fucking Arcanado?
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, yes, their defense is very good. Probably the biggest challenge we've had. Some people might think that doesn't bode well given what happened against Utah, but
I don't know. Utah, as it's been playing better teams, its defense has looked better and better.
Yep.
And Oregon just played the best team that it's faced all year offensively.
Right. And had its worst performance.
And its other worst performances against Auburn. So,
yep.
Like we probably at the end of the year we're looking at the Utah defense as the better defense.
I got the most important question for you though. How many touches is Max Borghi going to get?
So he got 20.
How many times is he going to run the ball, Craig?
Well, he only ran the ball 12 times against Colorado. And he had 9 catches, and still people were demanding more swing passes. I'm like,
more. We want more swing passes.
He had the most targets on the team, other than Brandon Arcanado. Him and Arcanado both had 9 targets.
I know.
How he touched the ball 21 times.
He's got to catch all of them and run all of them.
Well, Borghi does. He catches all his targets because they're dump passes.
No, I mean all of the targets need to go to him. As do all of the handoffs.
55 touches for Borghi.
We only need Max Borghi.
If he's not hauled off on a. No, I'm not saying that. But anyway,
honestly though, are we going to be able to run the ball enough to make them?
No.
At least respect the run.
Oh, no, we won't. No, WSU's. It's just not going to happen.
No, I mean, I just mean is there rush?
I know,
defense?
But here's the thing. I think that Borghi in himself is good enough, and I think it was the same with James Williams last year and Borghi. I think they have garnered enough respect that defenses pay enough attention to the run as a possibility that they feel like they have to implement tactics, strategies, whatever. And we've seen that with Arizona State. We've seen that with everyone they've faced to kind of to prevent run boxes that are favorable in particularly in obvious running situations. We talked about that with Colorado, and they don't want Borghi to run the ball, and even though he only runs the ball 12 to 15 times a game, no one wants him to run the ball because we've seen what he can do. So I think Oregon will pay attention to it. You'll see some 6-7 man boxes because they don't want Borghi to run the ball. I think we're at the point where Borghi has garnered enough respect that it doesn't even matter if he only gets the ball 10 times a game. The defense is thinking about him because he's awesome. So, yeah.
Yep. Prediction time?
I don't want to.
Oh, come on.
All right, you go first. You always go first.
All right. Okay, so what I'm about to predict is what I think is probably the most likely scenario versus what I think could happen. Okay, so I've already laid out what could happen, right? Okay, if the upset comes...
Cougs by 50.
Right.
What up, Jack Thompson?
If the upset comes, it likely comes with, the defense getting some timely stops, maybe a crazy turnover where it's Herbert's only thrown 1 interception, maybe he throws his second interception.
That Russell Wilson pick 6.
Yeah, I mean, maybe somebody fumbles, whatever, and some of that fumble luck starts to come our direction finally, something like that. And so that's probably what's going to be required is 1 or 2 of those, maybe a 4th down they don't convert, that kind of stuff, right? Missed field goal, whatever. And then the offense, of course, doesn't trade touchdowns for field goals, get some explosives, etc. Okay. That said, most likely scenario, I think, Oregon puts up chunk play after chunk play after chunk play. They score something on the order of 6 touchdowns. We end up, settling. We move the ball plenty, but end up settling for a bunch of field goals, and it becomes something like 42-30. Oregon.
All right.
Kind of what I'm thinking. Most likely, most probable scenario.
Our predictions are always boring because they're also always very similar.
That's because it's because we look at the same data for this stuff.
You only thought the Cougs would win by a touchdown last week, and I thought they would win by 10. So
that is true.
Suck it, Jeff. I was closer to that 31-point margin. Like the pin, like as in I'm in the bunker, but a fairway bunker.
That's basically like I'm in the bunker, you're on the green, you're 40 yards or 40 feet away from the pin, but
and it's like a horrendous like it's just like a huge left to right, like, and it's just there's no way you can hit that putt.
Right.
That's how far I was still off, but
right.
And I hope I'm that off in favor of the Cougs again this week because you did all the analysis. I'm just going to say, I'm going to go, a couple field goals in there, 38-27 Oregon.
Yeah. My thing with Oregon is I'm not sure they're going to kick any field goals. So that's why I went with the 42 instead of the 38.
Fair enough.
Because I feel like it's sort of touchdown or bust with them for the most part, and they'll probably get some. So, but if we can keep in the 30s, we've got a shot.
Well, honestly, like pre-Colorado game, like it's kind of changed your outlook on what the team can accomplish.
Yeah. And
even pre-Arizona State, I would say Arizona State kind of changed your outlook.
If you think Arizona State's defense is pretty good, then. And you think Colorado, going for 40 points or whatever in a rainstorm. I mean, at this point we've got 7 games, and 6 of those the offense has been tremendous. Right? And the one was Utah, first road game. Gordon wasn't great. The receivers were not great. Okay, well, I kind of like our chances to do some damage.
I'm excited to watch it at 9:30 p.m.
Ooh.
Here in Cancun, in Playa del Carmen in Quintana Roo state, estado. Thanks. Shout out to Kyle Sherwood for your Dish Anywhere password.
Yeah.
By the way, Jeff,
not all heroes wear capes.
Your YouTube TV password did not work last night.
What?
I had to. Yeah, it was localized. I could not access the Sounders here in Maple. So I had to use Kyle's Dish Anywhere password, which worked beautifully. So I know I will be able to watch the Cougs.
Well,
we have big plans, snorkeling and shit tomorrow. Saturday. Only plans to sit around the beach, sit around the pool, and drink alcohol. So I will be nice and ready to go. It's going to be fun.
I can't imagine waiting until 9:30 for that to start.
Yeah,
not just that it's like late or it's going to be late or whatever, but just like waiting that long during the day, like that's so long to wait for the Cougs.
I think I have stuff to do.
You have stuff to do.
I'm on vacation.
Yeah. I'm going to be remodeling a bathroom, so...
Yeah, so the day will fly for you.
You'll be having more fun than me.
Yes.
Yes.
Although I do love laying tile, baby.
No,
I don't.
Yeah.
I've never laid tile. That's a
complete
complete
get some
lie.
Like fake shit and put it down.
Oh, do that. It's just fine.
That's what we're doing.
All right, so subscribe, like, rate.
5 stars.
5 stars or else.
Yep. Or else we'll, I don't know. We'll send Baxter after you.
Yeah, and
he's vicious.
He is very vicious. Haven't you seen that underbite? All right, all right, man.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I should have looked up how to say "Go Cougs" in Spanish.
Oh, you have failed. I'm sure someone will tell us.
Hey, what about Vamonos?
Vamonos, Cougs.
Let's go, Cougs. Vamonos. But
go.
that's like, yeah, that works, right? I don't know. Vamonos, Cougs. Yeah,
Vamonos, Cougs.
Yeah.
I don't know. Why don't you go down to the bar and yell that on Saturday? And then
Vamonos, Cougs.
And then see what kind of looks you get from the staff.
I partied pretty hard after the Sanders match last night, so
they know you.
They do. As I've told you, my drink order is silent at this point.
That's right.
So
you don't even need to speak anymore.
So hello, the two of you that are still listening, and
right.
Vamonos, Cougs.
That's right. Go Cougs.